Go nuts for donuts. This is a game that I picked up pretty much randomly at Target. I was looking for new small games to bring with me, with my family. We were going on a trip, so I was looking for games that would travel well, so they weren't too big, and they didn't have many components. This one seemed to fit the bill. As you can see, the box is not very big, and the game is actually even more portable than I expected, because as you can see when you look at the insert inside the box, the components are much smaller than the box makes you imagine. So actually you can take all the components, put them in a sandwich bag, and they would fit in your hand. Very, very portable. When you look at the art, the publisher, and the theme, which has to do with food, you may think that this is a rethemed version of Sushi Go, maybe like Donuts Go, and that's what I thought. I'm glad that that was not the case, because hey, this way I have two games instead of like a game in two versions with different themes. This is a game that is very different gameplay-wise from Sushi Go. It is about collecting delicious and valuable sets of donuts. What you see here is the basic deck that you use in any game, regardless the number of players, and then you have sort of like addition decks that you will add depending on the number of players. For example, with 3 players, you have the basic deck plus these cards. With 4 players, you add these other ones, and with 5, the whole deck. So the more players you have, the thicker the deck. Then you take these markers here and you place one out for each player plus 1. So number of players plus 1. With 2 players, for example, that's what we get. We get 3 of those. And so for 2 players also, we're only going to use the basic deck. You shuffle the deck, you put it face down by these tokens here, and you reveal a card for each position that you placed there. Next, you have these small cards here, which number from 1 to 7, and you give a full set to each player. That is a set for each position that is there. So with 2 players, there are 3 positions there. Each player gets a set like this one with number 2, number 1, and number 3. I didn't say that in order because I like to surprise you that way. Pretty much the game is ready to start, and the game is simplicity itself. Players look at the donuts and they secretly select a card representing the donuts that they would like to get. When everybody has made their selection, you flip them face up, and the donuts that players selected go to the players that selected them. I select the number 1, so I get the donut in position number 1 and add it to my play area, my personal area, face up. All donuts that have been taken are visible, are public knowledge, and this other player selected 3, so they get the donut in position number 3, and I add it to their play area. The twist, or the twister donut, is what happens if multiple players selected the same donut, then no one gets it, the donut is discarded. So between donuts that have been assigned and donuts that have been discarded, there will be some empty slots at the end of the round. The players take their cards back and you refill the positions. As simple as that. When you acquire donuts, there may just be a number there that indicates the number of victory points that the donut is worth at the end of the game. But there may also be other conditions. Sometimes, again, it's just a condition that if it applies, gives you extra points. In other cases, the card will give you an action that you can perform, and the action is performed only when you're taking the card from the main offer into your play area. Cards, as I said, will be discarded, and that is important. That the discard pile also is open knowledge, and that is important because there are game effects that target the discard pile. So, for example, if you take a card, some cards allow you to take cards off the discard pile, but in which case the effect doesn't apply. Again, the effect only applies when you're taking the card from here, not when you're stealing it from another player or taking it from the discard pile. There's a similar yes to Sushi Go. That is some set score depending on the number of them that you have. So a single donut holds cards at the end of the game is only worth 1 point, but if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is neat because you have 15. So some cards score alone, some cards score in sets, some cards score if certain conditions apply. And as you can see, the basic cards actually have fairly limited interactivity. Other cards, when you go with higher numbers of players, you get to do more stuff. There are more actions, including some cards that will give you a negative penalty, but that will allow you to do other stuff. So if I'm trying to complete a set, that will make me the difference between scoring 10 points or 15, then taking the penalty of -2 would be okay, because then I still have a net gain of +3, I guess. I'm not one of the greatest mathematicians. Same here, it's a really heavy penalty, but then it lets me take 3 cards on the discard pile, which can be neat. And other conditions, other things that will do things from you. Discard a card from another player. This can be pretty mean. And again, I'm reducing their points, ideally so that they lose more than 2 points, because I'm losing 2 points. Otherwise, what would be the point of losing points and give you points? I'm losing my point here. So this is how the game works, as simple as that. Select the card secretly. If a different selection was made, all the players that selected unique donuts get them. The players that went for the same donuts, their hands touch on top of the donut, they form a force field that discards the donut. I know that's how I like to see the situation. Refill from the deck. Continue like this until you do not have enough cards left in the draw deck to refill the offer here. At that point, you count victory points based on the cards that players have acquired during the game, and the player with the highest total is the winner of the game. And this is how you play Go Nuts for Donuts. What a fun, pleasant surprise. As a simple, light-hearted filler and travel game to play with friends and to play with children, this turned out to be a real hit. And I'm very glad, because that was the purpose why I got the game in the first place. I was traveling. Again, we were going camping, we were going on vacation. It was going to be us, my family, and other friends. And when I go in that kind of situation, I always want games that are very simple, so that they also have the option of playing them with our non-gaming friends. This is a game that anyone can play, as long as they know how to read. And even my 5-year-old that doesn't know how to read all that well, we just explained the effects to her, and she could still play, and she could still have fun. Everybody plays at the same time, so the game scales really well, because you do not have to wait for your turn to come around. Everybody plays at the same time. Of course, then with a higher number of players, you have more intricate strategy, because you're trying to take into account what other players are gonna get. And this is really the key idea. This is really the key idea of the game, which again allows you to play the game at different level. A child will just go for what they want, for what they need to complete the set, and that makes them fairly easy to read, and you kind of can tell what they want to do next. An adult, of course, has more strategy that he or she can implement. That adult is going to use more theory of mind, trying to figure out what you're thinking, or what I think that you think I'm thinking, that sort of thing, which may result in just me going for whatever I want to do, me bluffing, me trying to get in your way, me making you think I'm going in your way while I'm getting something else, and so on and so forth. And again, that is the interesting element, that an adult and a child playing together still both have reasons to be interested. Because yes, I can tell that the 5-year-old is going toward that set, and then I can go for my other set. it becomes more parallel element, a parallel race rather than strong, tough interaction. You had that with more players. I would say actually that is interesting. Again, in with lower numbers of players, it's more like a parallel race. With a higher number of players, it's much more confrontational. So I would say it's a game that I would play with 1 or 2 children, but when I get over like 3 players, then probably I want to play it mainly with adults, just because kids don't take it as well to be attacked, to force them to lose cards, to force them to discard cards. That kind of confrontation doesn't always work well with children. But again, my children are 5 and 7. When they'll be a little older, then I think that they would actually enjoy that. The idea of like forcing that to discard cards probably will give them enough joy to tolerate the stress of having to lose cards. So really a game for the family in the broadest sense. A game that adults can play with children and still enjoy. Not one of those so-called family games that adults have to just to sit through and while they're waiting for it to be over. It is fun. It is engaging. You can play with anybody. It travels well. It has an adorable art. I like it. Definitely, this is a game that I like. I got it kind of like randomly by chance, not knowing much about it, which is how I acquire many of my games. Maybe too many. But I got lucky. I got lucky. The one thing is that I'm trying to control my weight a little bit, and seeing all these delicious donuts, of course, makes it a little harder. But hey, there is that. That is the drawback here. Go nuts for donuts. Adorable art, incredibly simple mechanics. All of these things come together with very linear gameplay, which makes this game a very entertaining filler and a perfect travel game.